everyone. Today I want to talk about Doomfist, because let's be honest, he probably still is firmly the most hyped and wanted Overwatch hero to be included. I mean, we all seriously want to see Terry Crews voiced Doomfist pulping people into red mist, simply pulverizing them round the battlefield and just having an absolute maniacal laugh blast while doing so. A maniacal laugh blast, by the way, sounds like an absolutely amazing drink. Either way, I think we all really want him, especially as we effectively got teased with Orisa, because Orisa we thought would be Doomfist, but as it turns out, well, it's Orisa, but Orisa is directly tied to Doomfist, built because of Doomfist, and in some ways as a countermeasure to Doomfist. So, you know, the likelihood that the next hero is Doomfist, I mean, it grows and grows and grows. But thinking those thoughts, as I thoughtly thought, I was like, hang on a minute. There's a big problem with Doomfist that I've never really properly considered before, and it's that I don't think he really offers a lot of design space to bring to Overwatch, because when you need a new hero, when you want a new hero in the game, they've got to start doing stuff that isn't just a clone of previous heroes. You know, they've got to bring something unique to the table, they've got to bring their own flavor. And with Doomfist, well, what do we know about him? He has a Doomfist gauntlet, he can punch people with it, and it can do an energy explosion. So my issue with that is twofold. Number one, I don't see how he can creatively fist the other Overwatch characters. And number... I'm leaving that in. And number two, if we give him any other equipment, anything that isn't just his whatever he's wearing and the Doomfist, it kind of takes away from the legend, from the hype, from what we want from the Doomfist, which is just big buff dude with Doomfist punching shit, yeah! So it's kind of a design space bind when creating a character like this, because again, let's look at the two things that this can do, and it kind of leads to a little bit of Orisa syndrome. Orisa was just a melting pot of other characters' abilities, slightly changed, yes, but the only thing she really uniquely brings to the table is unstoppable. That's her new introductory mechanic, a cool way of denying CC. Every other move is just, well, this is a Reinhardt shield, but you fire it out, you know, or this is a Winston shield, but it's just curved and not a full dome. This is just a shorter, more precise Zarya ult, you know, this is just an AoE mercy boost, you know, I mean, it's not hard to just attribute that to, well, they kind of just took other characters. So when you talk about Doomfist, I believe that happens more than anyone, and granted it is because we know so little about him. More information might be revealed that's like, oh yeah, he could do this, that's cool. But let's look at option one. If he becomes a melee hero, whether it's a tank or an assault or whatever, he's presumably going to be punchy the people with the gauntlet. So if you're playing him, you're up close to someone, you hold left click, you start swinging with your fist back and forth, wave your fist back and forth, and hitting them, you're basically Reinhardting it, aren't you? Swinging the hammer back and forth. You've just got Reinhardt, and yeah, if you make it, let's say, slower but more damaging, you change it slightly, change the area effects, maybe make it so it's a more precise punch, you know, you can only affect 1 or 2 enemies per punch instead of the sweeping motion of Reinhardt, but at the end of the day, you've still got a very much Reinhardt-like melee character, so you could solve that by having, you know, the Doomfist gauntlet on one hand and a sort of gun or the kind of weapon in the other that he's been outfitted with, but then again, I think people would be disappointed. Like, if you weren't consistently punching with the fist while playing Doomfist, you'd probably be sad. I mean, yes, the further thought is, so what if it's like Reinhardt? I want to punch people with the fist. I want another melee character. And honestly, at that point, I really agree with you. I think that is fine. We have multiple similar guns. We can have multiple similar melee delivery methods, you know? That's fine. But then we come to the Doomfist's signature thing, you know, it's boom bada bing, the explosive energy blast punch that leaves robots in craters. And this, you know, initially goes, oh, that'd be an awesome move. Imagine doing that in an Overwatch game. You just punch and, oh, God, everyone dies. Well, obviously you can't just have everyone dies, because, you know, it might be a little bit on the overpowered side. So what does it do? You know, we've seen the effect of it in both the cinematic, when it accidentally goes off, and now in Numbani. And seemingly, if we had to translate this devastation to a mechanical level, it would effectively be just a AoE, almost spherical Reinhardt ult again, right? Wouldn't it? Because you do a load of damage to people, you'd knock them down, you'd stun them a little, or maybe you knock them back, you know? Maybe a Reinhardt ult with a knockback and stun instead of just a fall down and stun. But the point is, when we're talking about explosively punching and then things happen to people in an area around you, that's very hammer donkey, isn't it? And hell, even if we make his ulti something along the lines of one big powerful punch and it sends someone flying, then you're like, it's just an amped up single swing of a Winston ulti. And this is really the conundrum I'm find myself pondering of late, when I make it sound like I get a nice cigar and a glass of brandy, sit on a lovely leather chair by a crackling fire and a lovely red robe, and, you know, rest my fist gently against my chin as I ponder thoughtfully as my silhouette dances across the wall. How Doomfist gonna punch? I just don't know how Doomfist gonna punch! That's going on in my head, but, you know, on the outside it looks terribly sophisticated. Either way, that's what I'm concerned about. How do you give Doomfist a unique Doomfisty flavor that we all want to taste? That's not a good sentence either. What is today? Without making him just seem like, oh, he has Reinhardt's this, but it kind of does this, and oh, he has Winston's this, but it kind of does this. And I think it's difficult, especially given how little we know about him, because all we have to work with is his fisting capabilities. Now, what I would like to do in this video is have a little bit of a, you know, community design session, because often, and in fact more than often, all the time, you guys bring incredible ideas to the fore. You have lovely discussions, and it is a pleasure to read your comments, it really is. So what I thought would be cool, given my, like, with this, because normally I'm overflowing with ideas for what new heroes could be, and if someone just said, come up with a hero and come up with 4 cool moves, I'm there, I've got hundreds. But obviously when thinking specifically Doomfist, you've got to think and design around what we know about him and the Gauntlet, and that restricts stuff. So what if we as a community in the comments today come up with Doomfist moves? Let's have a community design session on a hero that we know we're going to see. I think that would be awesome, you know, any kind of just description, any thought out, hell, even go as far as numbers, hell, even draw some artwork representing what you want to happen, you know. Let's have a really good nitty-gritty discussion of what kind of moves you think he should have, what kind of work, make them unique and not just this hero's move but kind of twisted. And then if we get a good set of abilities, I'd totally love to do a follow-up video with Community's Fist, and we have a look at all the good ones and discuss them in a lovely game designy fun way. I think that would be cool. So to kick the ball rolling, there is one thing that I do think he could do as an ultimate using the fist that would be really cool, that would fit his character, because he is a villain. He's trying to cause conflict between Omnics and humans, you know, and we do need a new villainy character in the game. Reaper and Widowmaker can't carry that burden by themselves. I mean, have you seen Widowmaker's shoulders? They are tiny. You could barely get a couple logs on them. Jesus, the words today. Either way, I think that he would be quite vicious as a character. I think someone who is a bad guy called Doomfist would be quite vicious. And you know when somebody in a film or TV show, somebody is incredibly strong, almost superhumanly so, and they pick someone up by their neck and lift them off the floor with one hand. You know, that kind of thing, like incredible strength. Oh my god, you're swinging there, hanging, choking, I don't know why I felt the need to give you an example. For those of you watching that don't know what choking is, it sounds like this. I sure hope no one's walking past my office. So today's lesson is choking. Grab your partner. Oh, goddamn. So, imagine if Doomfist ulti is he charges up his gauntlet, starts glowing, it starts crackling with energy, as it's been known to do. And then he can rush to somebody that he's choosing. And yeah, this starts to sound Reinhardt chargy. And again, this is the point with Doomfist. It's hard to not be kind of someone elsey. But you get to someone that you're next to. Maybe you don't charge. You just press it when you're near someone. Then Doomfist actually picks them up, you know, with one hand, the non-gauntleted hand, and is now holding them. And instead of like a Reinhardt charge where it pins them and you're charging, you're holding them and you can just move them where you want to while holding them. And now initially sounds really overpowered because obviously you just choose someone, you're holding them, your team's going to shoot them and they're going to die. You don't even need the rest of the move. Well, what I was thinking, because Doomfist wants the kill to be personal, he wants to be the one doing this, while the gauntlet is charged up and crackling with energy ready for the punch, what we could give him, which is somewhat unique, is almost a random deflection field. Because how Genji can deflect stuff specifically, let's say if while he is holding someone and the Doomfist is crackling with energy, everything that gets fired near him, sort of, you know, very directly at him, both allies and enemy fire, because Doomfist works slow, he won't give a shit about his allies, gets reflected away in a random direction. Yes, it could hit an enemy, yes, it could not, but it basically means that both him and the person he's carrying, so it's a double-edged sword, are safe from projectile and ranged fire while he's holding them. So he holds them for a few seconds, you can move where you want to move them, that's cool. Then he unleashes the punch on them from his charged up gauntlet at point blank range while holding them and lets go, so he's just freaking annihilated them in the gut after being holding them like this while they've been choking out, right? And he sends them absolutely flying through the air, you know, a big knockback here, like a huge, massive single target knockback, because we don't really have that either, and it does a nice amount of damage, an almost single person execute move. However, what could be cool is, yeah, if they hit a wall, we can stun them and stuff, but I think the main thing about it is we could have Doomfist go bowling. If the person that he punches and sends flying passes through other allies, then it can sort of knock them out the way, stun them a bit, do a bit of damage, but have some kind of effect. So you effectively steal an enemy, take them out the fight for a few seconds, double-edged sword style, launch them back at their allies, and use them as ammo for a huge projectile shot. I think that would be an awesome thing for Doomfist to do, using the explosive power of the gauntlet, and this way we get away from a sort of Reinhardt-esque AoE ground smash like it would imply he should be able to do with the robots. And the thing is, looking at the robots, if we kind of do some crime scene investigation, with this, it does look like a single Doomfist explosion happened here. I mean, well, there's two ways of looking at it. Either we say that there was a Doomfist explosion in the center of the room that, you know, shockwaved out, sent the one in the front into the wall, smashed up the others, and just wrecked the room, and that's what happened, you know? Maybe he will just have a sort of, you press E and he does a quick, like, Doomfist explosion, he knocks people back, does a bit of damage, you know? That's fine. Or to me, it looks like the one that got exploded into the wall is surprisingly less damage than the two on the ground. So to me, what I'm thinking is he manually beat down, ripped up, destroyed the first two, because they are much more messed up. I doubt they just got Doomfist explosioned, and then he turned around and Doomfist explosioned the one that was coming at him and sent it into the wall, and the force of it going into the wall kept it together because it's just being pressed as a whole into the wall, and yeah, like, it lost a limb or two, you know, but that's fine, it's much more intact than the others. So this, I do think, really supports him just generally meleeing, i.e. ripping the robots apart, and having some kind of explosive blast. So I do think he'll effectively have a blasty punch that basically takes the shape of Winston Dome, and kind of explodes outwards and does something, but it's hard to make that something not very Reinhardt ulti in an AoE. But yeah, they're my initial thoughts on Doomfist and how it is a challenge to design him as a fun character. I mean, obviously we could look at movement stuff and health amount, but that's kind of superfluous. You want the mechanics of the character to feel fun and fresh, and I would love you guys to get involved in that. So yeah, my name has been Rage. Thank you very much for listening to these ramblings, and I will see you next time. Like, if you enjoyed it, subscribe for more. Oh, goodbye.